Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video blog on how to edit underwater videos. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to make sure I have enough room on my hard drive by coming up here, checking that I have around, I probably want between 20 and 50 gig of storage because the files we're going to be using are real big files. If they're from a GoPro and you're shooting at 4K or 2K or even 1080 and you've got a high frame rate, you're going to have big files. So when you import them into Final Cut, they're going to be a lot of rendering files, meaning it's going to use up your storage. Last thing you want is it's halfway through rendering and you run out of disk space. And I also have hard drive plugged in with 350 gig on it. My hard disk has 50 gig on it, so we should be all good. Okay, so today we're going to be using Final Cut Pro. This is a video editing software for the Mac. There are a lot of other ones, Premiere Pro and so on and so on, but I find this one is the best for me. It's the simplest to use, great for editing underwater videos. So, being as we have checked we have the right disk space, basically we want to find where our files are and we want to import them into Final Cut using the little import tool here. So today we're going to edit together some of Shane's footage from Fiji. He sent me some footage the other day and I said I would edit it together so he comes out of a nice professional looking video at the end, even though the footage may not be taken on the best of cameras. I believe it was taken on a cheap GoPro. So the footage could be amazing or it could be quite average. Even if we have average footage, we're going to be able to cut it together, clean it up, and make sure it comes out as a decent project at the end. So let's import his stuff and get this underway. So all his files are in my downloads. Scuba Shane right here. So we have here pictures of Shane. Pictures of sharks, happy days. So what I do is I'm just going to import the whole lot. Photos and videos, because we may want to use all of them. And as you can see down here, we've got logos as well. And I'll come back to that a little bit later. Create a new event. And we have our files that have come up on the left hand side of the screen ready to be edited. Now as you can see, there's a few different sizes of boxes and they're all categorized under date, which is great if you're going to put together a timeline of from start to finish of your holiday or something like that, or the day out that you did. You'll be able to have them all in order already before you actually even edit them together, so you don't have a jumble. You can actually tell a story of the day. You can see here was quite an important part about Final Cut. It is imported media, so we're going to wait until that's fully done. It says 100%. Once it's 100%, that's when we can actually do things. This is also for rendering and stuff like that as well, so we'll be coming back to this a little bit later on. We have shark footage, and it's looking pretty good. Yeah, happy days. So, yeah, this is looking amazing. Even though it was shot on a GoPro, we're going to be able to edit this and make it look super professional afterwards. See, the images are pretty blue. We're also going to be able to clean them up. And any images that are a little bit shaky, we'll be able to stabilize them as well. Now, we need to create our new project. So this is going to come up with another drop down. And it's going to ask you to name your project. Let's call it Scuba Shane. So we're going to agree to all of that. And basically it's going to start the rendering process. You can see it went from 0 to 100% straight away because it's not doing anything at the moment. But as we add files and as we start editing them, you're going to see that it goes, you're going to get an orange line above the images. Best to shut down most of your other programs. My computer's pretty fast, so I do have a few other programs open. If I was you and you don't have such a fast computer, I would shut them down because it's going to take a lot of power to render these files. Okay, let's start off with, we have shark footage, so we need to think about what sort of music we're going to put to this. Quite important, the music sets the mood and makes the clip a lot more watchable. If we just have the standard bubble noises, doesn't sound too great, sounds very tinny as well. The sound on these GoPros and stuff isn't that great, so we're either going to take that right down to nothing later on, we're going to get rid of the sound, or we're going to just take it down. If we want to add a little bit of feeling like you're in the moment sort of thing, you might leave some of the bubbles in there, but you will take it right down till you can barely even hear it. Searching for music. So I have this here, epidemicsound.com. So I've signed up to these guys. Basically what they provide is tracks that are pretty good, to be honest, especially for underwater clips and stuff, and you get 2 free downloads with them if you sign up. So your first couple, you can just give it a try. I've actually signed up to this and pay like $15 to $20 a month, and I get unlimited downloads with them. And basically, you won't get any licensing problems with YouTube and stuff like that. They have their music, but it's all royalty free. So you can basically license it on your YouTube channel, and then if you're monetizing your page, you'll be able to actually earn money from that. I need to find something that is going to fit in with the shark footage. Depends what I want to, what I want my audience to feel when they're actually watching this video. Do I want them to be on the edge of their seat, or do I want them to be sitting here relaxing? Just depends on the footage and just what you're looking for. I tend to go for tracks that don't have any lyrics in them. What do we want for portraying bull sharks, tiger sharks, and what look like groupers and lots of reef fish? I want something kind of relaxed. Not too relaxed, but something fairly chill out that's going to draw people into the environment. Let's start with the top one.
About to leave, already packing, come with me, I'm not really.
Well, that's absolutely terrible. Not that one. Getting the Lord of the Rings vibe. Yeah, this is feeling good. You could imagine swimming around underwater and hearing this. Quite chilled out. This could work. Just skip ahead a bit. It's got quite a nice beat. Yeah, I like it. I like that last one, that was good. No. This could definitely work. Probably not what I'm looking for today, but this could definitely work for underwater clips. Yeah, I like that one too. What we'll go with is, I'm going to go with Sydney. Let's head back to Final Cut Pro and we'll start getting this clip underway. So first thing, I'm going to import some music. So you come to the little music symbol down here, and it went straight, as soon as I downloaded it, it took it straight into my iTunes. And as you can see here, this is pulling up all my MP3s. Basically, I have all my music on here. I can just type in Sydney, and there it is, Epidemic Sound. So let's go 29th of June. Let's pull these files in to start with. So now I've got them on my timeline. I can then put on the sound underneath, and let's give it a shot. You still hear them bubbles in the background, probably not that great. Get rid of this clip. As you can see, MP3 track has actually attached itself to this file. So what I can do is, if I move another one in front of it, and then I can just move the track along, then this was the original one. I'm just going to get rid of that because Shane was in the wrong place. We didn't have the best view. It was obscured by the bubbles. We have loads of footage here, so we can just get rid of that. I'm probably going to start with a few videos of reef fish or the groupers and stuff like that, and then build into the sharks. And then when I label it on YouTube, I can label it as a shark dive, so they're expecting the sharks to come along. This is epic footage, look at that. Nice. So I'm just going to go along and have a scan of the footage, find the pieces that I want. I'm going to bring all of the footage into the timeline and see how much footage I actually have. Basically, I need to edit it down to the size of the audio track. The audio track stops at 330. So I might have now an hour and a half of footage, and I've got the biggest task on hand is to edit it down to be the size of that actual audio track, and sometimes it can be a nightmare. But you don't want to keep these videos too long. This video is probably going to be quite long on my YouTube, but it's showing you how to do it. But you'll see at the end, I will have all this down to 3.5 minutes, if not less. And that's going to get more attention. Basically, you don't want any of these clips to probably be longer than 10 to 15 seconds. General rule I try and keep it to is between 1 and 2 seconds for like cutaway clips. If it's a really, really nice shot, then I'll go 8 seconds and above. 8 seconds would be your limit for a really like a cutaway clip. But if you've got a real nice shot of a whale shark, or we're going to have tiger sharks going past us, we can extend that out to like 10, 15 seconds, and people are still going to be interested in it. Like, wow, that's amazing. But if it's just reef fish for 15 to 20 seconds, just floating around in front of you, audience is going to get bored. They're going to click off your video. They're not going to watch the rest of it. And if you have the epic footage you want them to see, then they're going to actually miss it because they got bored by your clip. Okay, so we have now imported all the video files that we have, and looks like Shane took 13 minutes and 36 seconds total of footage. This is going to be easy to get down to 3 minutes 30. We're going to be pretty brutal with this footage. We're going to cut away all the dead wood, all the stuff we don't need. Now this is the hardest part you're going to find at the start of editing your own footage, because you're going to love your footage and you're going to be like, oh, this is an amazing shot. I want to keep it there to like 20, 25 seconds. No way. Cut that footage down. Make sure you keep the interest. If you're going to be a lot more interested in your footage than other people might be, so make sure you show it to people, show it to your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever after you've actually shot the video. See if it keeps them entertained. If they start to lose concentration in the video, everybody else will. If your intentions are to put this up on YouTube and to gain people's attention and stuff like that, then you want to start cutting it down a little bit more, make it a little bit more epic. Maybe it's the music that isn't relating to them. Again, everybody's different. The main thing overall is that you enjoy it and that you enjoy what you've made. And if you watch it back 100 times, then it was definitely worth it. Cool. We have 13 minutes of footage. Let's start to edit this bad boy. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to edit the first few clips, and then we'll probably do like a time-lapse speed run through of me just getting all these clips done. Just so you're not sitting here for 2 hours watching this. Select tool, and we can start cruising through the footage. This is a good first scene. Loads of people, loads of reef fish, setting the scene for where we're going to be. It's too long now. So what we do is we come to the edge, and you see as the cursor went over it there, it turned into like not a trimming tool, but making the clip smaller. And you can see the clip was 15.5 seconds, and I'm just dragging it down. You can see the two windows here are showing me what's going on. So what I do is I trim from the start and trim from the end to begin with. Now the reason I do that is because when you start the GoPro and when you stop the GoPro, or when you start the camera, stop the camera, you're going to have a bit of shaking. So get rid of that to start with. Easy to just chop that straight out and then have another look at it. And what have we got? He panned across nicely to some students, and then it started to speed up a little bit. What I can do is use the arrow keys and skip back frames if I want. I'll come back and have a look right to there. Now that's a bit of the clip I like the best, so what I do is I select the blade tool. You can see it's like a little razor blade here. I'm going to go right onto the line and just chop it. can then go back to my select tool. I'm going to hit the spacebar and continue to play the footage. Now what I've done there is I've enabled myself to be able to just get rid of this part here. I enjoyed the first part of it. It was a nice pan across. It's going to set my scene, and I've cut it down to a couple of seconds. And then I've got this part here, which I might have liked, but actually I don't really need it. If I don't need it, I'm going to get rid of it. Now what I do is, you can see Sydney, the MP3 is attached to this one. I'm going to move that along to this one. Just so, if I didn't do that, I kept it there and deleted, it will delete my MP3. I don't want that to happen. So I'll pull it over to here, I'll delete that one, and then it keeps it in place. Then I can move it straight back to the first one. Now, I don't want the bubbles too loud. I would rather hear the music. Although, maybe if I'm setting the scene, maybe the music isn't needed at the start. Maybe that's going to gain more attention. No, I definitely think we need the music in the start to set the scene. Okay, so looking through that scene there, seems we've got loads more reef fish. We've got an instructor down here, looks like he's feeding the sharks or rubbing their nose or something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the last part of the footage because it was a bit shaky, all over the place a little bit. I'm going to bring that right down, trim it right down 4 seconds, and I'm going to get rid of that sound down to minus 17 decibels. Okay, let's replay that. Probably still a little bit shaky. I'm going to trim that in a little bit more, and I'll come back to that in a second. Okay, let's have a look. This was the one we watched right to start with. Yeah, them bubbles run away. I could probably salvage a little bit of that footage. I can make a few cutaway shots from this, so I'm not going to delete it entirely. I'm just going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to try and find some more reef fish. Also, what I don't want is this dude here just waving the GoPro in the way. We want to focus on the marine life. And, if we can cut things like that out, that's great. So really, when you're videoing, make sure you get yourselves in the right position with people out the way. Or if you are filming people for a reason, maybe you're filming somebody to film, doing some inception work, then make sure you get them fully in the shot. Okay, that looked pretty good right there, so I'm going to trim it down. It's a cool movement of the fish, like, yeah, nice. Oh, there's a bit of shakiness there, so probably want to trim that. Select my blade tool again, I'm going to come back to there, and I'm going to take out that bit of shakiness. Got some nice footage here. I'm going to cut it again. Nice, there was a great bit there. Basically, the movement of the fish is what you're looking for. You're looking for really cool movement that's really going to keep people's attention and be like, wow, that was amazing. Like, you really want to focus on the marine life. Yeah, like that. As the shark went through the fish, that was epic. Okay, I'm going to chop it there. Now, the reason I'm not just getting rid of the rest of the footage is we might have some absolute gold later on. So I'm going to watch the whole bit of footage through. And we do. This is amazing. This is a great shot for the cutaway scene. I wonder why fish are going so crazy. Oh, there he is. That's why. Okay, cool. So now we have a few different shots. I'm going to take these 3 and take them to the front and put them next to this one. As you can see now, what happened was this reattached itself. I can just pull that back there. There we go. Stop there. That's all we need from that shot. We have other cutaway shots. Nice. I want to get rid of some of these bubbles. This is why I'm getting into rebreather training, guys. No more sounds of bubbles on the videos. Okay, I'm going to chop this one down. I'm going to chop this one down. So, as you can see in the background, you can kind of see the sharks, but you're not seeing the sharks. You're gaining the attention, and really you're building up to shots that are going to happen like this now, where we just got full bore shark action just like out of nowhere. I'm going to do a bit of trimming work there, try and keep these bubbles out, chop there, and yeah. Then I'm going to get rid of each side. Now, it doesn't mean I'm getting rid of it entirely. I can come back to that later on. If I do need another clip, then all I've got to do is come back to this clip here, and I'll be able to put it back in. So you can see sharks in the shadows, that was great. And then you've got this next shot of tiger shark coming in. Probably won't go straight into that yet though. So a little bit with editing the individual clips. Replace that. So if I want, I can zoom into the clip. See how the clips opened up. Basically it didn't edit any of the clips, it just zoomed into my timeline. So now I can pick individual frames and actually edit inside the clip. So first of all, this one, white balance is different to this one. You can see the green compared to the blue. Now we have our balance settings. So if I want to balance my color, I come down to this little magic wand tool and I can balance the color and see what that does. Oh, now I put a lot of red into there. Actually probably looked a little bit better to start with. Now what happens is, as we're on our dive and we go down deeper than like 4 or 5 meters, we've totally lost red. So if we've lost red on our GoPro, then or our video camera, then we need to add red filters and things like that. Red filters can sometimes be quite expensive for GoPros. And also what they do is they do limit the amount of light that gets into your video camera. So you'll need to up your ISO on your video camera, but we'll come onto that on later videos when I start talking about actual videoing and using your cameras underwater. So what I could do is I could bring up my color. Now what I'll do is I'll keep this balanced with the red in it, and now I have this little tool here. I have my global, which is basically the entire image. Now if I went up or down, I can put different colors into that or take them out. You can already see I can start to edit that red out of there in the global one. So this is doing everything from the shadows, the highlights, and everything. You can see the whole lot changing. Maybe it was just my shadows that went red. And that happens a lot of the time, is it is just your shadows in that balance that went red. And as you can see, it's not quite as much as the global one. It's only doing the shadowed areas, which is pretty awesome. So I can go up to the blue or to the red and so on and so on. Basically, I just need to try and find that happy medium of where the color matches what I want it to. Let's try our midtones. So between our shadows and highlights. And then lastly, our highlights. See, it's mostly up the top of the footage that it's going different colors. This is where the sun is basically burning into the image. Now, just remember, when you do start editing this footage, as you edit, you are going to damage your footage. You're going to make it more grainy and stuff like that. So if you can put up with a little bit of grain in your footage, that's great. Balance it. If in doubt, if you're shooting deep footage and you can't put any color back into it, maybe the color just totally destroys your footage, keep it blue. If you keep it blue and you go maybe a little bit darker blue than you normally would, the footage will look great. People associate underwater footage with it being blue because the ocean is blue. So if it's green, maybe change it to blue to make it look a little bit better. Or if you went for a dive in a lake and the whole footage is supposed to be green, just leave it as green and then change the exposures to it. Now if I change the exposure, I can up and down the shadows. Now going up with the shadow doesn't normally work very good, like you lose all the contrast out of it. So I prefer to bring the shadows down a little bit, make them a little bit darker. With the midtones, as you see, as I bring it up, the shadowy areas start to get more damage than other areas. So you start to get around the black parts of the BCD, parts that actually didn't have any light on them to begin with. So it's hard to edit, and they start to go really red because we've put that color in there. And with the highlights, bringing the highlights up is a really good way to make your footage brighter, but you will start to burn the image and also start to alter it. Now I think I'm getting there with a little bit with this little clip. Right, I've got the colors. Sorry, I've got the exposure the way I want it. Fairly dark shadows, fairly light highlights. What I'm going to do is now play around with the color until I'm happy with the color. Now the shadows, I'm going to put. Shadows is a really good one to do. Too green, don't want it green. That's more. So I've got like this fine line of where it should be. So now you can see I've had a little play around with it. It hasn't come up perfect, but I don't expect it to. This is only GoPro footage and it's only a split scene. People aren't going to notice that much. Maybe you'll spend a little bit more time and get it absolutely perfect if it's a nice long scene that you have, and we'll come on to that a little bit later on. But also what you've seen up there, did you see there was an orange bar? There was an orange bar up here, and basically it was rendering the footage. It was altering the footage so later on it can be burnt onto the disc. Cool, let's leave that one the way it is like that. Maybe a little bit shaky. Let's stabilize this footage. So I come out of here and I'm in my video section, and you see it's got all the different things that we can do to it, and we've got stabilization. I'm going to click stabilization. It's going to come up with this, analyzing for the dominant motion. Now what this does is it's actually going to crop the image a little bit, and that's how it stabilizes it. So you are going to lose a little bit around the edges of the image. Hopefully it comes out nicely. Sometimes you do this and it just doesn't work at all. So you need to check your footage. You can't just stabilize the whole lot, which takes a lot of time unless your computer is super powerful. You can't just stabilize the whole lot and expect it to all be perfect. You need to check it afterwards. So you see that? It went from being quite a little bit shaky, and now there's no shake in it at all. That's brilliant. I'm happy with that. Now back to our blue footage. Now our blue footage, let us balance this color. That came out a lot better straight away. The white balance was already quite good and already quite blue. So it's actually just added a little bit of red and it's come up really nicely. Like, I'm really happy with how it's actually balanced that color. See that? From this, what it looked like, to that, brilliant. Let's balance all of this. That one hasn't come up so great because we're firing upwards towards the surface, so we've got a little bit of burning around the top of the image of the highlights coming in, so it isn't going to balance that great. You can edit some more red into it if you want. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll probably do some shadow work to it, just a bit on exposures, just to darken them colors a little bit. Get a good bit of contrast in there. See how that came out. And this up. And then I'm going to go for my global. There we go. And I'm happy with that. I've just added a little bit more green into the shot, which has actually brought the blues and the yellows out a little bit better, which is great. See how different they are? This one to this one. This one has a lot more contrast. It's a lot more pleasing to the eye. Let's see how this one should balance quite well because it's a fairly balanced shot. It doesn't have any really dark shadows, doesn't have any really light highlights. So what will happen is this will balance out pretty good. There we go. I thought Final Cut was going to do me then. Bring my shadows down, and this will contrast in the background a little bit, so you'll be able to see them sharks a little bit better. Yeah, that looks beautiful. Nice. We'll also balance this one now. So as you can see, we've got our orange bar, and the percentage is rising. It's rendering the footage, rendering. And it's at 100%. As you can see as well, in the top right hand corner, my battery is plugged in, but it's actually going down. Now, Final Cut is using a lot of power. Now, it's using a lot of power, and which is actually draining the battery faster than it can charge. So best to start with a full battery. Otherwise, you don't want it to run out halfway through. Good thing about Final Cut is it does usually save the storyboard as we go. We don't have to manually save it. It automatically saves. Not all the time though. Sometimes it'll go completely wrong and you'll lose everything and it will be devastating. Pick yourself up. You got the originals. Start it again. It's happened to me a few times. Nice. Now we're onto this footage. Now this one's shooting into the blue, so it might come out nice, might not come out so great. When I balance the color, probably quite red. Yep, it put quite a bit of red in there, making it look very purpley. We definitely don't want it to look purpley. We don't want any unnatural looking footage. So what I'm going to do is mainly I think it's going to be the shadows that are the problem here. So the shadows. I'm going to put a bit of green in them. And then I'm going to bring the shadows down. And the midtones down. And I'm going to up the highlights a little bit. Let's see what this did. Let's let it render first. 100%. Excellent. As you can see, we had a bit of shaky footage as well. Let's see how this one stabilizes. Again, it's rendering. You see how it cropped it slightly then? That was for the stabilization. And then look at that, no shakiness. That came out really nice. Okay, now we're going to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to start editing. If I do anything special like that I think you guys might want to know about, then I'll basically slow the video back down and you can see how I did it. Okay. Okay, let's try slowing this one down. Depending on the frames per second the footage, depending on the frames per second that the footage was shot at, depends how much we can slow it down, if at all. We don't want it to look jerky as it's slowed down. We want it to look nice and smooth. And a good transition is going fast into slow and then fast again, or slow and then speeding it up to normal speed. So let's just try 50% to start with. We'll let it render. That was the best part there. Obviously this is all really good footage, and I just got to be brutal with it to cut it down, just to show off really the best bits. Just like that part there of the shark with all the fish was, for me, that was the best part of this. Also a great shot, firing directly up. A little bit shaky, doesn't matter, we can probably sort that out. Let's chop this down a little bit. Now I've got one black and white in there. I think I should have some more. Bit of artistic effect, you know. Nice contrast on the black and white. Let's maybe even slow this one down. So now what I'm going to do is I've balanced all the colours. I've tried to get it exactly the way I want it, and where the clips are where I need them to be. Hopefully to the music as well. This music is fairly chilled out. If you had more dramatic music with beats and stuff, you might change the scene to the beat. Maybe we'll cover that in a later video. But basically try and keep your clips to the music. If it's slow, like you're going to have a lot of long clips like this, long drive-bys of sharks and stuff, swim-bys and things. Whereas if you have more upbeat, then you're going to be changing them images around more often, and having more like half-second clips and stuff like that. But that's quite a task to actually do, and to get it to the beat. Just do the best you can. And also a great tool for that is the zoom tool. Is zooming right in and being able, you can see on the audio exactly, this is frame by frame, exactly where the audio spikes. I mean, because this is chilled, you can see the audio, it doesn't have many spikes in it. So different types of audio, you're going to have different types of editing. So I've got everything the way I want it, pretty much. What I want to do now is just do just do a watch through the entire thing. As soon as I find an error, as soon as I find I need something balanced, I stop it, balance it, stabilize it, continue. Every clip has to be perfect. If every clip isn't perfect, when you put it up online, it's going to annoy you. Like, you're going to be watching it, and then suddenly it cuts to a clip that's not white balanced properly, and it's a great clip, but it just didn't have that attention to detail. So attention to detail is really key. Once I've got that, basically what I'm going to do is put in some transitions, and we're going to be fading from one clip to the next, and we'll go through that now. Let's transition there. Here's my transition button. My top one is the cross dissolve. This is pretty much the only transition that I use. If you get onto other types of transitions, basically what you need to do is drag it across and then drop it in there, and you see it comes up with the orange bar again. It renders. Basically, it's got to render one piece of footage to the next. If I zoom in, what I can get is I can open this footage up, but I can only open it up so far. This one is going to let me go all the way, so I can have a massive transition. Basically what this means is it will go to the amount of clip that you have cropped off before. So if your image was, if your piece of video was 30 seconds and you cropped it down to 25 seconds, you've got 5 seconds of being able to actually cross dissolve over. So as you are cross dissolving, it will actually allow you to keep doing it and overlay them images. If you butt two clips up together and they're exactly you haven't edited anything out of them, it will ask you, and we'll probably come across this in a minute, it will ask you to create a transition. So what it's doing is that's going to actually edit out some of your clip and turn it into transition. It'll become more apparent when you start doing it for yourself. Now, this is a fairly short transition. Oh no, it's a long transition. You can have it even longer if you want. Just depends if you want like a big 7-second transition. See how long that takes to transition in? Yeah. So that took a lot more time to transition in. I don't want it that long, so I'm going to bring it down to about 3 seconds. Should suffice. Yeah. Nice and chill transition. And basically let it render, because otherwise every time you play or you're doing something while it's trying to render, it'll stop the render and it'll put all the power into playing, so you won't actually get any rendering done. You might find by the end of editing you have probably a 30-minute wait to sit there and wait till everything's rendered, and this is where you can come across problems as well, is it can forget to render something, so you can never actually export the file. So just try and let it render as you go. I'm going to put one in here. See here, it hasn't let me drop it straight into place. So it's going to ask me, create the transition because of the edges. I can create the transition, and it actually made my clip a little bit smaller. Let it render. This is a fairly fast transition. That's good. That's what I want. Now, I find I didn't need that clip. Get rid of it, puts the transition straight into the next one. So let it render. Okay, and I'll continue with my watch through. Now where I'm going to put transitions is I'm going to transition mostly whenever it comes from one type of scene to another. So when you get into videography and you start using things like actual video cameras and you're shooting from a wide scene to a medium scene to a narrow scene, or you're going from a person to some marine life, you may do a transition there, especially when you're coming from surface footage to underwater footage. Take a look at some of my other videos and you'll see where I put transitions in, and it's a great way to learn. Great places to put the transitions in. Okay, that can be cropped down a little bit. We'll stabilize it. Also, didn't need to be that big. And you can see the footage is starting to get a little bit jerky because I haven't let it render. So I'll let it render now completely, wait till it's 100%, and then continue, and the footage should go back to normal. Now, I definitely want to transition there from one type of scene to another. I'm going to even try and extend that out a little bit. 2-second transition. Now, what other ones could I actually do? Let's do some, what I would call a crappy transition. Let's do this one. It's going to look absolutely terrible, and you'll see what I mean. Or we can also do a circle. Let's chuck the circle one in. Yeah, let's just chuck it in there. Yeah, sure, we'll create that there. Oh, look, that did two, did one either side. Chevron. Or a clock, that's going to be cheesy as. Let's do a real cheesy clock one. Look at the audio. And drag that back. We're now down to 3 minutes. Exactly. I believe we'll get it a little bit lower. Oh no, that was horrible. That's not too bad. Still a bit. Oh dear. Oh no, that was that was the worst out of all of them. So I don't like them ones. I'm going to get rid of all of them. Just click on them and delete them. It puts the clip back to its original way it was. Okay, this one has smooth transition. Let's continue to watch. I like this scene with the black and white. That looks great. Definitely needs a transition in and out though. If you're going to go to black and white to a different type of color, then definitely try a transition in there. Nice. Let's fade in. Good to fade into the videos as well. So it's not just jumping in at the deep end, so to speak. Fade it in. And I'm going to chuck a couple of transitions in at the start as well. Just here, setting the scene. That'll do. Now you don't want too many transitions, because then it isn't going to look as good. It's always going to look like it's fading. You want a lot of just cutting, cut, like straight through to the next scene. Like with no transitions like this, just straight in. That's what the human eye and the human brain seems to want to see. So keep your transitions minimal, keep them classy, keep them as a cross dissolve, or blurring in and blurring out you can use as well. But at the end of the day, it is up to you as well. If you like the cheesy transitions, go for the cheesy transitions. If it works with your video, by all means go for it. This isn't a tutorial on exactly how you have to do it. There is a million different ways to edit your footage. So as long as you like it, as long as you enjoy it, that's the right way to do it. You could also put in photos. We have photos in here as well. I'm not going to put photos in. I don't tend to put photos into my videos. Some of these photos are great, like that one especially. But what I'm going to use the photos for later is when I upload to YouTube, I'm going to use it as a cover image rather than trying to take one of the single frames, because it might come out with some less than ideal frames. I make an image and then have that as the main image, so when you do share it, it comes out really crisp and nice and clear. It looks good. Let's let it finally do its last bit of rendering here, and then what we'll do, put on our watermark. So normally, as you've seen on all my videos, down here in the bottom center I have my own photography watermark. Basically meaning nobody can take my footage and start blasting it around the place. This isn't my footage, so I'm not going to watermark it. I'm just doing this for a friend and to show you guys how to edit. What I'll do is I'm going to use his watermark. So he's going to put it on his YouTube, and it's going to be to promote his business and his dive trips and stuff like that. Now what I want to do is find the watermark we want to put on, and I'll show you how to attach the watermark. Now make sure you have a decent amount of space left on your hard disk, because this is going to take a lot of rendering. Now I'm hoping that black background is actually a transparent background, and it is brilliant because it's a Photoshop file. What I do is I make it real small down here. Now as you can see, it's coming as a big file. Probably don't want it this big on the screen, otherwise you're not going to see all the amazing action. So just here we have the transform. Click on the transform. You can also do crop or distort, but we really want transform. Now, as you probably know from things like Photoshop and stuff like that, you have to hold the shift button on to keep it exactly the same. Actually, it's the opposite on Final Cut. You actually just click it, and as long as you stay below the horizontal line, see what happens if I come above the horizontal line, is it flips it upside down. We don't want that. That might be handy for you later on. We want to make it fairly small, but not too small. And then what we're going to do is drag it down to the bottom, because we want to keep it out the way, and center it in the middle. Okay, cool. Now it's looking a bit sharp and out there. A watermark needs to add a little bit to the actual footage and stuff, and not hurt the footage in any way. Basically, what I don't like is when my logo is on there and it's so bright that people are more attracted to the logo and they get annoyed by it rather than the actual footage. We want people to look at the footage but know that they can't take the footage because it is watermarked and it's got our logos on it and stuff like that. So what I do is I come to the opacity and I bring that down to around probably 50% to start with, see how that looks. And what I can do is if I extend this out a little bit, as you can see it's going crazy rendering now. When I play, it's watermarked, but you can only see it on like the really dark or the really light colors. Cool, so it's not too distracting. Let's get that here. So it's really using power now. It has to basically render every single file to burn that onto it. Normally it would be fine just dragging it the whole entire width, but it must be something to do with the Photoshop file, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. Now we let it render. Okay guys, so that's that rendered. Now what we're going to do is export the file. So if I come over to here, come to master file, and it tells me all the information I need to know, what the settings are. I have it set to better quality, so it's going to take a little bit more time to render, but it's going to come out in good quality. What the resolution is, it's in full HD 1920 1080, and we're also at 50 frames per second right here. The clip is exactly 3 minutes long, and it's going to be 456 megabytes. So this is going to be our master file. We could also change what we want to have it on. If we have it on Apple devices, see how this changed and dropped down to 225 megabytes. Also, we can have video and audio. See how that jumped up. This is more of a detailed file. It's going to be 5.5 gigabytes. We don't really need it to be that good. This is for the pro resolution. We don't really need that, so we're going to come back down to just computer. And this is great file size for just uploading to Facebook or upload to YouTube and stuff like that. Click next. Into the movies. This is where all my movies save, and we'll just keep it saved as master file, Scuba Shane. Save the file. Now you can see here it's going to be rendering again, under rendering. It's sharing, not rendering this time, and it'll continue to up in percentage. Hey guys, so thanks for watching. That's the rendering just finishing up now. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and if you find this helpful in any way, leave me some comments. If you found it unhelpful, also leave me some comments. If I missed anything, feel free to let me know. And yeah, enjoy the final product. Hopefully this will help you in your video editing. Awesome. Thanks guys.